Are you afraid of germs? Should you be? You've probably been taught to fear germs ever since you were a kid. You probably had parents and teachers tell you, scrub your hand, sanitize the counter, make sure we kill all the bugs or you're gonna get sick. But what if that story is actually wrong? So today I'm gonna talk to you about why you maybe shouldn't fear germs so much, and why in fact they may be some of your most important allies on the path to healing. So let's start with a wild statistic. Over half the cells in your body aren't human. Now that's actually a low estimate. Some estimates consider that 90% of the cells in our body might not be human. You are a living, breathing ecosystem. Inside here, there's a jungle of bacteria, fungi, viruses, and parasites. That's not a mistake. It's not bad. You actually evolved to function best with all of these friends living inside of you. Does that make you squirm? It's okay if it does. A lot of people really don't understand this. But I promise you they are our friends. These microbes are helping you digest your food. They're helping you make neurotransmitters. They're beneficially modulating your immune system. They're helping you detoxify common toxicants in our environment. And they regulate your hormones. They live not only in your gut, they're also on your skin, they're in your eyes, they're living on your organs. They're everywhere, and they should be. They're not invaders, they're residents. And your health depends on them being happy. So how did we get this cultural obsession with sterility and this idea that we need to kill off all microbes, or that parasites are always bad, or that viruses are always bad? Well, it goes back to the dominance of germ theory, the idea that microbes are the root cause of disease. This idea has shaped modern medicine. But even from the beginning, there was actually controversy. There was a competing theory called terrain theory. This was developed by a man named Beauchamp, who actually was working around the same time as the famous Pasteur. And he believed that microbes only became problematic when the internal environment was compromised. So he was looking more at the health of the organism, the health and vitality of the tissues. And he found that as long as the tissues were healthy and vital, germs didn't cause any problem at all. In fact, they were beneficial. Now, more than a century later, modern microbiome science is actually proving Beauchamp right. But unfortunately, we've had a lot of sterilization in the meantime. A lot of people have been, for generations in their family, using bleaches, using antibacterial soaps, taking all sorts of antibiotics, eating foods laced with pesticides. And so a lot of us have a very damaged microbiome now and a much less optimal relationship with germs. Now, are germs always good? No, of course, we certainly can get exposed to very pathogenic parasites or bacteria or viruses. And so we don't want to just be cavalier about them either. It is important to wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. It is important for surgeons to sterilize their hands and instruments before they do surgery on you. Sometimes it makes sense to stay home and quarantine yourself if you've got a bad virus. Those things are valid, but we go over the top. Even other things that are often called bad, such as candida, common parasites, E. coli, staph, those are actually normal residents in the bodies of healthy people. Even people living in indigenous communities that have no chronic disease often have high amounts of these microbes. So the question isn't about whether they're present, it's about how balanced they are with other microbes. And the more balanced they are, the less likely our body will be susceptible to true pathogens that are just very damaging to our body. And we're going to be less likely to react badly to microbes that sometimes create a negative effect in people and sometimes are very mild. We've all seen how different people respond differently to things like food poisoning or different viruses or other different illnesses. Some people get over them very quick, and some people have long-term consequences. It's the people who have the long-term consequences that probably had microbiome imbalance in the first place. So we don't have to fear microbes. We have to make sure that our terrain, our tissues are strong enough to handle them. And then sometimes we can actually benefit by the exposure. It has long been known that viruses and bacteria and our exposure to them can actually help improve our immune system by acting as a kind of training program. That's actually why healthy people do get a cold or flu on occasion. It usually isn't too bad and they recover quickly, but your immune system is actually being boosted in a way by that exposure. This ensures that you're actually more resilient to future infections. So hiding from any exposure to microbes is actually the worst thing you can do for your immune system. We don't want to immediately reach for a kill protocol. If you're sick, don't rush straight to the antibiotics, antifungals, and antimicrobials. These approaches don't fix the underlying terrain. They can suppress symptoms temporarily, which is why, of course, if you are having a very serious infection, they are appropriate. But they do cause long-term damage to the microbiome, and when overused, create antibiotic-resistant microbes that go stealth and cause chronic low-grade inflammation. So we only want to use those in truly life-threatening situations. Let's talk about the terrain. How do we make our tissues healthier to attract this more balanced microbiome? So when your gut lining is damaged and your immune system can be more seriously overwhelmed, food particles and toxins slip into the bloodstream, they cause systemic inflammation, your immune system reacts, you're going to start having all these complex chronic illness symptoms. Add to that all our exposure to chronic stress, pesticides, which act like antibiotics, processed food, which tend to feed the opportunistic or less healthy bacteria. This suppresses our immune system even more. We might be overusing pharmaceutical medications that also damage the gut lining. Anyway, you can see that it's no wonder we're seeing an epidemic level of gut disorders, autoimmunity, anxiety, fatigue, you name it. But you still can rebalance if you know how to support it. Let's talk about exactly what we can do. We need to start with healing the gut lining. That means eliminating sugar and processed foods, and often all starchy foods for a period of time. So that means grains, starchy vegetables, legumes, etc. And then we have to add in collagen-rich meat stocks, plenty of healthy animal fats and proteins, and this gives us the amino acids that we need to rebuild that gut lining. And when the gut lining is rebuilt, the microbes that we want are actually going to have a place to live and to thrive. So next, we need to nourish the actual microbiome. I always recommend food-based probiotics. So fermented vegetables like sauerkraut and beet kvass, the ones you make at home, and including a diverse array of fruits and vegetables in your diet for prebiotics. So this includes things like leeks, carrots, garlic, cabbage, etc. We always have to talk about lowering stress. Chronic cortisol actually weakens the gut lining and throws off our microbial balance. We actually have seen this in research now. So all sorts of really effective mind-body practices are out there, maybe breath work, some nervous system retraining. We often recommend things like neuromeditation in our program, and we do somatic healing practices like EFT tapping and trauma release exercise. These all can help restore balance to your hormones, and then your internal ecosystem will respond. The biggest thing is learning to trust your body and to get out of a mindset of being at war with your own gut and your own microbes. You are your microbes. They are you and you are them, and you should be living in harmony together. You are interacting in a way that is far more intelligent than most of us realize. We don't want to just constantly be visualizing nuking our insides and clearing ourselves out and hiding from the microbes of the world. We need to honor our biology and create the conditions where your ecosystem can thrive. Did this shift your perspective at all? I encourage you to share it with someone who's still living in fear of germs. There is another way, based in trust, not terror. We are an ecosystem, not a machine.